Hi there, Emma. So well done for submitting this technology essay. Couple of comments to begin with on task response. I would say initially that the question on should humans adapt to technology or should technology adapt to us, you've responded to it in your conclusion, but not here. It seems to me that you've written an advantage-disadvantage essay instead of directly responding to the question. So this question, it had two components. The first component was, should humans change their behaviour to suit emerging technologies, or should technology only be designed to suit existing human needs? So both of those things, you've responded very, very well to the does it make us intellectually weaker or stronger, but I would have expected a discussion on what ought to happen in terms of changes in behaviour in the introduction. Also, your introduction is quite long here. It is almost always better to keep introductions simple. So we could have said something along the lines of the issue of whether humans should adapt their behaviour to technology, or whether technology should only be designed to suit existing human needs, has grown in importance since the technological revolution. Personally, I believe that that people should learn to utilise new technologies, as this makes them intellectually stronger. There we have a simple and well-covered intro. But let's move through the intro anyway and correct some grammar. So since the advent of artificial intelligence, also, this is a very specific time frame. I would have spoken more about the technological revolution, or the digital era, just to give it a more general feel. The issue of whether modern technology aids in humans' progress or cripples their analytical abilities has grown in importance. Cool. Proponents of this advancement think that new innovations add more power to civilization when dealing with challenges, while critics consider it as a major step backward in mankind's possessive evolution. In my opinion, this revolution is a double-edged sword. The phrase is double-edged sword. I would say which has both advantages and disadvantages. Not only phrases can be somewhat confusing sometimes. We can leave that actually. Which has both advantages. Oh no, actually, because I've used both. Which has both advantages and negative effects on the development of the species. In this essay, I will present arguments from recent studies and reports from the International Meteorological Organization to support this concept. Cool. But like I said, the core question was, should we change our behaviour or should we change technology? Which one is the priority? On the one hand, whether control? Do we control the weather? I would say it's more like weather mapping or weather modelling. So the mathematical modelling of things. We understand and we predict weather by running computer models of it. So on the one hand, weather modelling advancements give superiority in facing severe climatic changes. This is because of Let's leave that out. This is because of newly invented software and machines. We could also use machinery. Oh, I am not on form today. Software and machinery that can easily predict tornadoes, storms, and floods, in addition to heavy rains. For example, the annual report of the IMO revealed that these equipments is okay, but I would have said equipment such as these helped in saving thousands of lives by allowing early governmental intervention. Therefore, technology has had a positive effect in making humanity stronger when confronting environmental threats. Cool, but this is a general benefit of technology. Like I said, it seems to me you've written an advantage-disadvantage essay, when what we should have done is written a paragraph on why humans should adapt their behaviour to technology, because that's the viewpoint that you've taken. On the other hand, the new diagnostic devices such as magnetic resonance imaging, ultrasonography, or computed tomography have negative implications on doctors' clinical skills. We don't know which doctor it is. Semicolon there. This is due to the fact that many medical professionals are now dependent on these modalities, ignoring their clinical sense. We just have a comma there. For instance, a recent Harvard study reported diminished abilities of the younger physicians. Again, we don't know which physicians it is, it's not definite, when compared to their older counterparts. Consequently, if these technologies continue gaining popularity, disadvantages would be expected. Again, so we're writing advantage-disadvantage paragraphs, but that was not what was asked of us in the question. In conclusion, in light of these arguments, it is clear that society should deal with new inventions with caution lest it become enslaved by its own creation. So, actually, I find that your conclusion does not relate to your paragraphs, because in your paragraphs although I suppose you do talk about the negatives here, but what I would have expected is a paragraph on why, so let's say that you say that you're in the middle, that humans should exercise caution around new inventions, lest they become enslaved by their own creations. I really appreciate the use of the word lest, by the way. Well done. But we could have discussed further. Actually, this paragraph is relevant. But if you believe that they should exercise caution, then I would expect this paragraph to talk about how why humans should adapt or should not adapt to technology, to focus clearly on the question that we were asked. So keep your introduction a little more simple, and ensure that your paragraphs are really, really relevant. And that you answer the correct question. So remember, there are multiple types of questions. There's advantage-disadvantage essays. So discuss the pros and cons of a thing. There's to what extent do you agree or disagree, where you are presented with a statement and you must say whether you agree strongly, disagree strongly, or somewhat agree. In those essays, I would always recommend taking a strong position either side, because in that way, you only have to write 2 paragraphs in support of your idea. If you somewhat agree and you take the middle ground, then you have to carefully assess both sides in a balanced manner, and that can be a lot more difficult. There are also discuss both views and give your opinion, where you are required to consider both sides of the argument, one in each paragraph, before deciding what you believe. Once again, I would recommend taking a strong position rather than going in the middle. It's just much easier to express that than it is to talk about grey areas. And then there are also direct questions such as these. Should it be this or should it be that? Which one do you think? And we needed to make our paragraphs more related to that specific question. But let's move on to your letter. So, a job application letter. Dear Sir or Madam, I hope this letter finds you well. I am writing regarding the vacancy of specialist orthopaedic surgeon in your hospital. I would say, as advertised in the local newspaper. First, I would like to introduce myself. We can use a semicolon here. And we can say, I graduated, it's fine. I graduated from medical school, no definite article. I graduated from medical school in 2007. The first 3 years after my graduation, I worked as a resident physician. And I was responsible for following up following up with patients. I was responsible for following up with patients before and after surgeries in addition to assisting major operations. Cool. Later, in 2010, I passed the specialty exam, and as a result, I was promoted to the position of specialist physician who can perform technically demanding procedures in addition to participating, I would say, in scientific researches. I feel enthusiastic to work in your respectable institute, in which I hope to strengthen my experience in the field. Actually, I look forward to working as a member of your team and adding more strength to the orthopaedic department in the hospital. I have attached my updated CV, the application form, copies of my qualifications with this letter. Yours sincerely, Dr. Peter Martin. Excellent. Very, very smooth. Very good. So one thing that's really, really impressive with you is your range of vocabulary. You don't have many grammatical errors. You have a very impressive vocabulary. But we just need to make sure that you concentrate more fully on answering the question and perhaps keep your introduction a little more simple. So being consistent throughout, answering the question correctly, and maybe pay some attention to those minor errors, but they are minor. I actually think you're going to do really, really well in this exam. I'm looking forward to your result. I'll send these over to you now. Have a great day, and I'll speak to you again soon.